The first dog may not have been captured by a human. It may have been the wolf least afraid to approach our leftover. That story is famous because it feels like evolution doing the work for us. But there is a problem. We do not know where the first dogs began, when the decisive split happened, or whether leftovers were even the invitation. 3 origin stories survive. Wolves selected themselves, wolves and humans learned to hunt together, or humans deliberately raised the least dangerous pups. This episode puts all 3 against the actual evidence. Start with the boundary. Dog populations existed before farming. In March 2026, one Nature study recovered nuclear and mitochondrial genomes from ancient Western Eurasian canids. Its samples included Penarbashi at roughly 15,800 years ago. They also included Gough's Cave at roughly 14,300 years ago. The genomes support a similar Western Eurasian dog population across that distance by the later date. Second Nature study analyzed 216 ancient canid remains. It identified a dog from Kessler-Loch dating to roughly 14,200 years ago. Its pattern indicates dog diversification began earlier. An earlier study of 72 ancient wolf genomes found overall Eastern Eurasian wolf affinity in dogs plus another Southwest-related component. No sampled ancient wolf is the direct progenitor of modern or ancient dogs. These studies reveal distributed dogs, not the first interspecies contact. To compare origin stories, each one needs a prediction. Self-selection needs a reliable, human-made niche where lower fear improves survival before close handling begins. Cooperative hunting needs wolves capable of partnership and an ecological payoff early enough to shape reproduction. Pup adoption needs humans willing to socialize young wolves and keep some of them through adulthood. Every route needs selected animals to reproduce more successfully. Later dog traits cannot automatically become first contact causes. We will score plausibility, chronology, and evidence directness. The 3 stories may be stages, not enemies. Model 1 begins outside the Firelight. In the commensal pathway, wild animals exploit a human-created niche before people plan to breed them. For wolves, the key variable would be distance tolerance. Bolder animals could investigate carcass edges, discarded tissue, smells, or temporary camp activity. More fearful wolves would stay farther away and miss that opportunity. If the resource returned often enough, behavior could alter survival without a human choosing parents. Ice Age diet makes this idea stranger than a modern trash pile. Lahtinen and colleagues modeled seasons when hunters could obtain more lean animal protein than human physiology could safely use. That surplus could make provisioning nearby wolves energetically possible. But a protein surplus is not the same thing as a permanent dump. Natural selection could still begin with whichever wolves managed human proximity best. Humans might later favor individuals that warned, tracked, or simply caused less trouble. This is the strongest meaning of dogs domesticating themselves. Wolf behavior could have opened the relationship. The clean leftovers story also hides several assumptions. Serpell argues that small, mobile hunter-gatherer groups may not have produced a stable waste stream for specialist scavengers. Edible remains could be valuable, transported, processed, or culturally restricted rather than abandoned. A habituated adult wolf that lacked human socialization could also become dangerous near a camp. The commensal model therefore needs more than one unusually bold visitor. It needs repeated access, tolerance, reproduction, and some barrier from ordinary wolf populations. The fox experiment proves that deliberate selection for tame behavior can transform canids under controlled breeding. It does not prove that uncontrolled Paleolithic leftovers perform the same experiment. Model 2 starts away from the camp and beside moving prey. Humans and wolves were both social hunters with attention tuned to partners, routes, and escape. Modern experiments show that appropriately socialized wolves can cooperate with humans. Ainge and colleagues found wolves and dogs use different strategies, not that wolves lack partnership ability. In another task, wolves outperforms dogs when cooperation with another canid was required. That result places a powerful cooperative toolkit on the wolf side before domestication. Humans could potentially benefit from tracking, pursuit, alarm, or access to carcasses. Wolves could benefit from food, protection, or a more predictable share after a hunt. Seasonal lean protein surplus makes sharing with useful partners ecologically conceivable. The model predicts very early evidence of shared movement or hunting roles. Maybe in rock art does depict dogs participating in hunts, but it is many millennia later. Cooperative capacity makes the hunting story possible without making it historical proof. Model 3 moves human choice to the opening scene. Serpell's alternative begins with people deliberately taking very young wolf pups. Early socialization could make those animals safer with familiar humans than an adult scavenger would be. Ethnographic reports of hunter-gatherer pet keeping show that nurturing wild young is not uniquely modern. The argument is analogy, not a time machine. Most raised wolves might leave, die, or become unmanageable as adults. The few that remained affiliative could receive more food, protection, and chances to reproduce. That creates human selection even without pedigrees or a breeding calendar. The Bonn-Oberkassel dog shows that deep care existed by roughly 14,200 years ago. Its remains have been interpreted as an animal supported through serious illness and buried with humans. But this dog lived after genetic diversification had already begun. Air could have started the relationship, or it could have intensified when wolves opened earlier. Modern behavior shows what repeated selection could eventually build. Dog puppies display early emerging skill with human cooperative gestures compared with intensively socialized wolf puppies. They are also more spontaneously attracted to human interaction. Those differences support an evolved component rather than training alone. Genetic work has associated structural variation in a sociability-related region with hypersocial behavior in dogs. Association still cannot date the crucial variants or identify who selected them. The same social trait could help a wolf approach a camp and help a pup please a human caregiver. Once people provisioned, protected, or retained particular animals, human choice changed reproductive odds. When human environments rewarded lower fear before deliberate care, wolf side selection changed the same odds. One animal could experience both filters during one lifetime. That is why a modern dog's gaze cannot appoint the first selector. It supports a feedback loop in which contact changed behavior and behavior changed contact. Some famous dog clues point in the wrong chronological direction. Genomic work found that many dogs carry adaptations associated with digesting starch-rich food. That sounds like proof that wolves followed human leftovers. Ancient DNA makes the timing less convenient. Early dogs did not all carry the high AMY2B copy numbers common in many later populations. Other work links copy number with amylase activity while documenting substantial variation among dogs. Starch adaptation therefore fits changing diets, especially around later food economies, better than one universal origin trigger. Dog-assisted hunting art has a similar boundary. It proves that dogs became hunting partners in some later societies, not that hunting created the first dog. Air at Bonn-Oberkassel proves a profound relationship by its date, not how that relationship began. These clues are products of domestication history and only possible causes when their chronology permits it. Now return to the newest genomes with all three models visible. The Pınarbaşı and Goff's cave samples link distant Western Eurasian dogs surprisingly early. The Kessler-Lock dog joins a pattern that had already diversified before its lifetime. So the relationship must have been old enough for populations to spread and split. Yet the Marsh study still leaves the temporal and geographic origin unknown. The Bergstrom study still leaves the responsible human groups and number of processes unknown. The older wolf survey adds Eastern affinity and a Southwest-related component to the ancestry puzzle. It still finds no sampled ancient wolf population that can be crowned the direct ancestor. A single origin followed by admixture and multiple origins remain difficult to distinguish. That conclusion is narrower and more interesting than a neat birthplace pin. Any successful mechanism began earlier than these dogs, inside evidence we have not recovered. The evidence fits a feedback model better than one winner-takes-all origin story. Stage 1 is ecological contact at a safe distance. Bolder wolves could follow human activity, while humans could also bring selected pups inward. Stage 2 is repeated tolerance across enough seasons for familiarity to matter. Lower fear gains access, while useful behavior gives humans a reason not to drive the animal away. Stage 3 is active provisioning, protection, and care. At that point, human preference begins filtering which animals survive near people. Stage 4 is partnership, where tracking, warning, cooperation, and social sensitivity acquire value. Stage 5 is expansion into new diets, settlements, routes, and specialized roles. The stages can overlap, reverse locally, or repeat in different populations. Self-selection explains how some wolves might cross the first distance. Human selection explains how some of those relationships could persist through reproduction. Domestication becomes a ratchet built by wolf choice, human choice, and repeated feedback. This episode does not prove that Paleolithic wolves lived on garbage. It does not prove that hunters first recruited wolves as teammates. It does not prove that one adopted pup founded every dog lineage. Modern dog communication shows an evolved outcome, not the first selection event. The fox experiment shows a possible response to selection, not a replay of prehistory. Ancient genomes reveal ancestry and divergence, not fear, affection, or intention. The oldest sampled dog is only the oldest sampled dog, not necessarily the first dog. Later starch genes, burials, and hunting images cannot be moved backward without evidence. The three-model comparison identifies compatible filters, not a recovered opening scene. So, did dogs domesticate themselves? Partly is plausible, completely is too strong. Wolf choice could have created the first population able to remain near humans. Human tolerance, provisioning, care, and reproductive preference could then keep that population distinct. Cooperative hunting could have been an early bridge, a later reward, or both. The strongest conclusion is a multi-stage relationship in which wolf choice and human choice reinforced each other. The wolf may have chosen the Firelight before anyone chose a dog. But no current evidence gives one species the only first move. If you want strange origin stories tested against real evidence, subscribe to Oddly Evident. The best domestication story is not humans conquering nature or nature tricking humans. It is two social species repeatedly changing the choices available to each other.